In this video, I'm going to show you how to place an image inside of your text using Photoshop. Stick around because I've got some bonus tips to share with you. Let's get started. Inside Photoshop, I'm going to File, New, and I'm going to create a canvas 1920 by 1080. With my foreground color set to black, I'll click on my text tool and then click once inside my canvas. And I'm just going to type in the word text. I'll click back on my arrow tool. I'll hit Command T on my keyboard and then grab the corner handles and scale up my text to fill up my canvas. Now I'll go back up to File and select Place Linked and then select my image. Now here I can tell that my image does not cover all of my text. So I'm going to grab the corner handles again and just scale it up, making sure that it covers all of my text and it's actually covering the entire canvas. On the image layer, I'm going to right click and then scroll down and select Create Clipping Mask. And there's your image inside of your text. With my image layer still selected and using the arrow tool, I can actually move my image around and reposition it as I need to inside of my text shape. You can see that if I move it over too far, you can see the edges of my image. So I want to make sure that all of my text is covered by my image. So right there looks good for me. I'll add one simple text effect by double clicking on the text layer and then selecting Drop Shadow. I can move around these sliders and fine tune my shadow as much as I need to. Hey, if this is the first time that we're meeting, my name is Jeff and this is Always on Art, helping you design better together. Okay, this was a super simple example on how to place an image inside of your text layer, but I've got some bonus tips that I wanted to share with you, so let's take a look at those. I've created another brand new canvas at 1920 by 1080, and I'm going to go over here to my color palette and select a color that I want to use for my background. I'll hit Option Delete on my keyboard to fill that color to that background layer. I'm going to reset my foreground color by hitting the letter D and making the foreground color black again. I'll grab my text tool, click once inside my canvas, and I'm just going to type in the letter A. I'll grab my arrow tool and once again hit Command T on my Mac to transform and grab the corner handles and scale this up. All right, I'm ready for my image. So I'll go to File, Place Linked, and then I'll grab my new image. Okay, so for this example, I actually want to cut out the image from the background. From the toolbar, I'm going to click on the Quick Selection tool and then come up here and I'm going to click on the Select Subject button. Photoshop's going to use its artificial intelligence to try to make the best selection for me automatically. With this new selection, now I'm going to click on Select and Mask. In the Properties panel, I want to make sure that I am on Overlay. I can adjust the amount of this overlay by using the slider, but I'll keep it up at 100% for right now. I'll let Photoshop help me one more time, and I'm going to click on Refine Hair. And that's going to take away some extra information that I don't need. But I can see that there's still some areas that need a little bit of help. For this next step, I want to make sure that I am on color aware for the refine mode, and I want to make sure that I have my refine edge brush. Now I'll just paint over these areas that need the attention, and again let Photoshop try to pull back in the information and make a better selection for me. Once you're satisfied with your selection, go down here to the bottom and I'm going to select Layer Mask from the output and then say OK. Now you can see on my image layer there is a new layer mask that is applied. Essentially, a layer mask is a non-destructive way for me to hide parts of the image while allowing other parts of the image to come through. A catchy phrase to remember is black conceals and white reveals, and that just means that the areas on the image mask are going to hide that information, and the areas that are white in the image mask are going to allow that information to come through. So just like in the first example, I'm going to right click on my image layer and select Create Clipping Mask. And now you can see that the image is inside of the text layer. I'm going to scale this and reposition it where I want. I'm going to duplicate my image layer. So with my image layer still selected, I'm going to hit Command J on my Mac to duplicate that layer. So let's take a look at what we have. So I'll turn some of these layers off. We have our text layer, we have our image inside of our text layer with that clipping mask, and I have this other layer that's on top. Now you want to make sure that these two layers stay right on top of each other. So all I really want to do is just capture the arms that come out like they're sticking out from that letter shape. To make this selection for the arms, I'm coming over here and I'm going to turn off this image layer here in the middle. Now I want to make sure that I click on the image mask on my top layer. You'll see that it's highlighted. I'm going to hold down the Command key on my keyboard and then come down here to my text layer and click once on the text icon. This makes a selection around the text shape. I'll set my foreground color to black, and now I'm going to fill in that selection by hitting Option Delete on my Mac keyboard to fill in that letter shape. You can always go up to any of the menus and see what keyboard shortcuts are available for your system. I'm going to hit Command D on my keyboard to deselect. I can see that there's a little bit of information up here at the top, in the middle, and the bottom that need to be masked out. I'm going to hit the letter M on my keyboard to select the marquee tool, and then just simply draw an area to select and hit Option Delete to fill that in with black. I'll do the same for these other areas as well. I'll turn my middle image layer back on, and now you can start to see the effect really starting to take shape. Okay, but I really want to show some depth on this, so I'm going to make some changes. Let's go down to the text layer, and I'm going to open up the character properties panel, and I'm going to select a new color. But I actually want to use the blue that we had from the original background. So with my picture selected here on my image layer, I'm going to right click on the layer mask and select Disable Layer Mask. I'll press the letter I on my keyboard for my eyedropper tool and then click once to sample the color of that blue. I'll right click and turn that layer mask back on, then select my text layer, then go to the color properties. I'll mouse over to the blue that we selected from the image. Once I've made that selection, I'll say OK. With my text layer still selected, I'll double click on that and click on Inner Shadow. You can see this is starting to give us a little bit of a depth effect. You can adjust the sliders as much as you need to. Okay, right away I can see that there are some areas that need some attention. So what I want to do is I want to bring back some of the information from this top image back over to cover up this area. To do that, I'm going to hold down the Command key and click once on this image mask. Now I want to select my image mask from the top layer, and then I'm going to turn off this middle layer. With this area selected, I'll hit the letter B on my keyboard for the brush tool and make sure that I am using white as my color. Now I'll just paint back in the areas that I need. I'll hit Command D to deselect, and then turn my middle image layer back on. I've got two more effects that I'm going to apply. So back on my text layer, I'm going to hold down the Command key and then click once on that text layer icon again. And I'm going to create a brand new layer, change my foreground color to white, then go to Edit and Stroke. I'll put in a 4-pixel stroke. I'll hit Command D to deselect, and I'm going to rename my stroke layer and then click and drag it down below my top image. Now I'm going to add a brand new layer right underneath my top image layer. I'll hit the letter B on my keyboard for the brush tool, and then I'm going to hit the letter D on my keyboard to reset my foreground color to black. I just want to paint in some areas just right here, right on the edge on both sides. I'm going to rename this layer to Shadow, and then right click on this layer and convert it to a smart object. A smart object allows me to apply effects with it being non-destructive. I can always go back in and modify those effects as much as I need to. So with that layer still selected, I'm going to go to Filter and go to Blur and Gaussian Blur. And then I'll just adjust my slider to make just a soft little shadow. I'll say OK, and then I can change the opacity of that shadow by just dragging this slider here. All right, we've got this super fun shadow that is really making this image pop. Hey, let me know in the comments below if you have ever used this kind of effect before. If you're looking for some other graphic design tutorials, hang on because I've got some coming up. I'll see you in the next video.